Welcome to the Reality Therapy Podcast, where the truth will set you free.
Okay, here we are. I'm Ryan, and this is our resident female expert, Courtney. Courtney's also my girlfriend.
Hi, I'm Courtney, the famous girlfriend.
Okay, so we're going to start by talking about there's a study that discovered gendered brain differences. So differences in the brain between men and women. This was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences and found that gender differences in the brain's gray matter, specifically the hippocampus, thalamus, and amygdala, are responsible for differences in mental illness between men and women. These differences affect memory, emotion regulation, and sensory processing. So this there's like a popular thing that it's called blank slate, that there's no real differences between men and women. It's all a social construct. So this is one of many pieces of evidence that debunks that. There's real brain differences. And the old saying is that everyone knows that men and women are different except for social scientists, right? They're the only people who've convinced themselves that there's no meaningful difference.
Wait, can I ask you when this article, like what year this article was published?
I think this was pretty recent. This is in the last year, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I'll post the link in the description. So with these type of brain differences, it explains why we see anxiety and depression are more common in women, and ADHD and anger issues are more common in men. So what do you think of that? I mean, it kind of makes sense intuitively, I think.
I think so. I mean, I see the anger or the ADHD in men or even like kids that are male. And I don't know if it goes back to how someone's raised, but I think it goes farther back than that. It's more of chemical makeup and fight or flight, and men are more prone for the fighting or protecting instead of the flight or fright, really.
Yeah, it makes sense. I feel like anybody who's not in a university just kind of knows that there's these general differences. Like if you spend time around women, you know there's like a bigger range of emotions on a lot of things. And yeah, and we're going to talk in a minute later about how different aggression comes out. Like with men, it could be physical violence, raising your voice, and we're going to talk in a second about women. Their relational aggression is a lot more subtle.
Yes, that is very true. I could probably give some good examples of that, but
I would like to hear them.
Right now? Okay.
Yeah.
Aggression even at work and stuff. Today was a good example. I work with a lot of females, and the females are more pushy or push back, I guess I should say. And the way they respond, it's not just, okay, like good to know, or if you're like, hey, did you do this task? It's not, most men that I work with are like, yeah, it's done. The females, unfortunately, is more pushback. It's like, if you need to know, yeah, it's already done. It can't just be simple, like, sure, no problem, or yeah, got it. Most of the time it comes back with resistance, or they start thinking, or we even start thinking, why are they asking me this? Of course I get my work done. Do they think I'm not competent? And then it just goes in a spiral of conversations that didn't happen, but you think are happening in your head.
I've discovered in my work life that you have to relate to men and women differently. And with men, you can just kind of say what you're thinking. You can be very blunt. Did you get that done? You know? Yep. And I feel like women, if not as a generalization, a lot of times you have to talk around the issue before you get to it. You're like, hey, Susie,
that compliment sandwich. Yes.
By the way, did you get that done?
And it could be like certain times in the month. It's like, hey, if someone asks me, hey, did you get that done? I'm like, yeah, no problem. But if it's a different time of the week, like a week of the month or whatever it may be, it'll be like, why are they asking me that? Of course I got it done. Do they think I'm not okay at my job? Is something wrong? Am I going to lose my job? And then you just start spiraling. And that's not to say every woman's like that, but about 90%. We have deeper thoughts of why something's happening.
there's obviously people who defy the stereotypes. There's more feminine men, more masculine women. But like on average, this is what you're more likely to see.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah. Okay, now I need your advice as our resident female expert.
Okay.
This is about what hobbies are sexy and unsexy for a man to have. So
Okay.
there's a list going around the internet, and I'm pretty sure it was just made up. I don't think there were any sources cited. But there's a list going around, and I want you to comment on what you think of these hobbies and, like, tell me how sexy or unsexy you think they are.
Well, if
First,
they're your hobbies, I'm obviously gonna say, yeah, they're super sexy.
oh, thank you.
But I got you. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, playing video games.
I mean, I don't think it's sexy. I like someone that works with their hands, but not like with a video game. Like I like someone who, I don't know, this is a personal preference, or are we talking about just women in general?
So works with their hands but not with their thumbs.
Yeah. If this is for a generalization, I mean, yeah, sometimes it could be sexy, but I think it could be seen as lazy.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's a little.
Collecting figurines.
Oh my gosh, not sexy.
Not sexy. Okay.
No, and you can't form it like, oh, it's a Star Wars figurines, or it doesn't matter what age you start at. You just,
Okay, hear me out. What if it's not a figurine, it's an action figure?
I don't know if that's worse.
I still have
No.
some Star Wars figurines somewhere. I need to find them and start playing with them.
Yeah, maybe if you just save them for the kids, like down the road or something.
Okay, magic tricks. Right?
Okay, but I had told you before that I knew of someone who dated 3 magicians, not just one, but 3 magicians in Austin. And I'm like, how does that happen? And of course, I don't think that's sexy. And about all the women I know or I'm friends with, they're like, no, that's not sexy. But they keep coming out of the woodworks here. So maybe someone finds it sexy and keeps encouraging it.
So what's your type? Magicians?
Someone who's good with their hands with video games and magic tricks.
Is this your number?
Is it your number now? Oh, goodness.
Oh
No.
man.
Ah.
Oh wow. Okay. Gambling.
Oof. It's a big red flag, but sometimes it can be sexy if they're winning.
Ooh, okay. I
Like
like
if
that.
someone's good at gambling, it's like, okay, stability, that's what I like. Or women can see like, but on a deeper level, if you like it, you probably need therapy of some sort. If you're attracted to someone who gambles and is not good at it, or it's an issue.
I would imagine there's a difference, and if you're thinking of the short term versus the long term, like if you're like in a casino and you're seeing a guy winning at blackjack or whatever, it's like that can be sexy in the moment. But if you're thinking long term and starting a family, it's like,
Yep.
you know, if you gamble away our mortgage money, you know, that could be
Yes.
pretty bad.
Yeah. So yes, it could be seen as sexy because it's like, oh, they're a risk taker. If they're winning, it's they're providing. But long term wise, it's just like, ooh, that's a no go.
Okay. Building model trains. That's working with your hands.
To be honest, I think it's sexy, but I don't know if many people would. But that could be a daddy issue thing. Like my dad worked with model trains and
Oh,
stuff
okay.
like that. So it's like, oh, I see that and I see a great father, a great husband, and that's how my brain goes. But if it's someone who just loves figurines or cleaning them or just like cleaning a model train, there's different levels to it. It's not as easy as sexy.
Interesting. Okay, that brings us to a little side question.
Okay.
Do you think women naturally look for a guy who's like their father and men naturally look for a woman who's like their mother?
Yes, very much so.
Interesting. Say more.
I mean, a good example is your mom and I with our queso.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
for those who are listening, Ryan prefers if you dip the queso and not rub it on the edge, but I rub queso on the edge of the
And
dish,
some of it slides
it
off, and
spills
we
or
waste queso.
it's wasteful sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, I
Yeah,
get it.
you're
And
fast and loose with the queso.
I am. I think I'm doing better than I am with it, or I'm saving queso by scraping it on the edge, but I am not, guys. But your mom does the same thing, and that's something that you've held in that you don't prefer, but we both have it. Or it could be how a man or a dad treated you growing up, or protected you, or good or bad things. And by natural, it's something you're familiar with, and so you look for in a spouse as a female.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I think sometimes it's hard to see because there's a big age gap in the person you're dating versus your parents. And so you might not notice. It's like, what was my mom like in her 30s? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. And it could be not even in their 30s. It could be something that you like about them now, or the way they act around family holidays, or social. If you have a social mother and your girlfriend's social, or the opposite, and more introverted, and your girlfriend's more introverted, maybe that's a good connection. Or I've noticed a lot of things dating someone, and they're a lot like we have the same characteristics, the mom and I. And maybe that's what they find attractive or familiar. What do you have to say about that?
Here's a weird one for hobbies: taxidermy.
I can't say I've met someone with a taxidermy, or who does that for a living. Am I saying if it's sexy or not?
Yeah.
I mean, taxidermy is pretty successful, especially in Texas. So I would say it's sexy. Successful. It's manly, like hunting can kill and provide in a way. Yeah.
I would guess there's probably a difference between if you're doing taxidermy for like a big buck versus like a jackrabbit.
Yeah. That's kind of weird.
How big is the trophy, you know?
Exactly.
Comic book collecting.
Oh, gosh. No.
No?
No.
What if they're like antique comic books?
Are you saving them to sell them for money one day to provide?
Let's say yes.
Then okay, I get your point of that. But if you're not doing that and you're saving them for your own, like to read and things, it's like me. Say, Ryan, I still have my Barbie collection from when I was 7, and they're in great condition. I want to display them all over the home. How would you feel about that? Sexy or not?
I don't know that it would be like a huge red flag. I'll say
No. It's just, is it sexy or not? No red flags.
I'd say pretty neutral for the most part. If you spend a lot of time on comic books, I would say that's not really good.
Okay.
That's not really attractive. The other day, like a few months ago, I was hanging out with this guy, and I'd known him for a while, and he's a real masculine guy, works out a lot, and just, I don't know how it happened, it got introduced in conversation. He's like, bro, I've got a huge comic book collection. And I was like, what? It was weird to me. It surprised me.
I mean, it could be a sign of like knowledge, or maybe that's their thing that they want to hold on to, or if that's the one thing, I'm not gonna knock on it. I'll support it. And if it's like the Big Bang Theory, and they have comic books and they're geniuses, you know what you're getting into when you're dating someone. But if they have a hidden collection, and it's just like, these are my babies, it's just like, okay. I guess could be sexy to some people.
Do you have enough good qualities to outweigh the comic book collection?
Yeah, and I don't think that's something that's a make or break for a lot of people either.
Okay.
Now, if you had a weird habit, like eating cotton balls or something, like My Strange Addictions, that's a show.
Oh, yeah.
You have a weird habit where you eat cotton balls, and it's just like, okay, that's could be a deal breaker. I don't know. It's just weird. But I don't think collecting comic books is weird.
Okay, tell me what some hobbies that would be sexy are.
Okay. I mean, I could tell you hobbies that people do now, like working out is a lot of people's hobbies, and that is sexy because 1, they're working on themselves, 2, they have consistency and schedule, 3, they could probably pick you up as a girl or just have that strength and a sense of protection. For me, it's like athletics. Are they athletic? If I dated someone and we went to a lake to swim and they got in the lake and were like, ooh, and like tiptoeing, and I was like, immediately, I'm out. I'm out.
Okay, hold on. What if they thought ahead and brought some water wings, like little floaties? Right? Would that be?
That's fine. If they bring floaties, that's fine. But if you get into the water and you're like, ooh, and I'm already in the water, like, come on, it's fine, and you can't, you're tiptoeing, it's like, oh, it's too slimy, and I'm like, you're out. I can't.
So if they get the ick from the water, then you get the ick from them.
Yep.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense.
Big
Any,
ick.
okay, any other sexy habits or activities?
Yeah, if you're handy, like, I think it's things that the girls lack in that the guy has, is what they find sexy. So if a girl's really handy, sometimes it's not a big deal. But for me, like, I want someone who's handy or can hang things or measure, things like that. So that would be sexy. Sometimes people really enjoy someone who can cook, and I'm sure that's sexy for guys, for girls too,
So any kind of you complete me hobbies?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, makes sense. Next
Wait,
topic.
I think we should ask you for girls, like the other end.
Oh, good question. I definitely like working out. I think just paying attention to your health, just taking care, whether it's eating healthy, exercise. There's one thing that I didn't find very attractive. Was somebody had like a ongoing health issue and ignoring it that I was seeing. And
now,
what's going? I feel like what?
I was gonna say, now, do you think that because you're thinking long term and you want someone who's gonna be there long term? Okay.
I mean, I start imagining, could I start a family with this person? Could I have kids with this person? What happens if 10, 15 years down the line, you don't pay attention to your health and you die and I'm left with 3 kids? You know what I mean? I didn't think like that when I was 21, but I do now. I start thinking ahead with this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
So yeah.
You just die.
Yeah. So definitely anything health related. I would say reading is a big one. If you like reading, I find that really attractive.
Now, what if they read comic books?
What if they read romance novels?
Like smut ones? Or just regular?
I would say if you have any kind of knowledge of a nonfiction subject.
Okay.
Like the book you're reading for church. Like, I think that's really cool. I would like to read that sometime.
Yeah.
But just reading generally, I think is really attractive.
You think reading generally to escape or reading generally to learn more is more attractive for you?
I would say
I already know.
like a fiction book might be a 2 or 3 out of 10, and a nonfiction book would be like 10 out of 10 for me. Yeah, because I feel like if your desire is to escape into kind of a fantasy, it's one thing. But if you're saying, I want to learn about something and expand my knowledge and understanding of the world, that's super attractive.
What if you can do both in a nonfiction, or, I don't know, maybe fiction. What if
I
you
kind
can
of get lost in nonfiction books, honestly.
But what if you can read a fiction book and learn things while escaping?
Maybe it's the best of both worlds. Okay, next question. Why are so many people leaving dating apps? So this is, I couldn't find numbers from the US. I'm sure there's like a similar trend. But in the UK, Tinder has lost over 600,000 users. Hinge has lost over 130,000. Bumble has lost over 360,000. And Grindr has lost 11,000. If the gays are leaving, there's a problem.
There's an issue if the gays.
So why are so many people leaving dating apps?
I can tell you reasons why my friends have left dating apps. I've heard a lot about it's just a hookup culture. A lot for Tinders for hookup, Bumbles for more older school, so it's like the backup dating app. Grinders obviously for same sex or just males, I think. I'm not really sure. And then Hinge is like the go-to. But I've also heard once you're on one dating app, everyone's on the same, like everyone's on every dating app. So you can't switch from one to the other. So once you go through all of the, say, Hinge profiles or people in the area, it's like, okay, I've hit the whole market. I'm not going to find anybody else. I'm going to take a break or I need to leave. And then I've also noticed a lot of people want to meet their significant other more naturally or in person or through a friend or at a bar or church. And I think people are just sick of swiping or being surface level.
Well, I've had some success on Hinge.
You have?
We met on Hinge.
Let's talk about this. No, we met at church, I thought.
That's the story. We met at church.
Yeah, we met on Hinge.
Yeah.
And we had a terrible first date where we both didn't like each other.
Yeah, we were both trying to hold back and not really, show our real selves, and we both thought the other one was boring.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it worked out in the end.
It worked out, yeah. I think part of the theory is the dating apps feel like a lot of work.
I can't imagine just being on your phone all the time and swiping or having that conversation just to commit, hey, should I give this person my phone number or should we meet in person? And then it is a lot of pressure to meet in person and just that one time. And what if you both are holding back like we did and think each other are boring? It's like, okay, and then you never talk again. So I think
you almost have to treat it like a part-time job.
I've heard it's a full time, really.
I'm going to set aside this time and I'm going to, look at profiles and study them, and really be deliberate about this and schedule dates. And, I think if you just do it casually, it's hard to have any real success.
Yeah. And especially for the females on it, you have to go more in depth. Like we stalk, we find any connecting parties that might know you. Like if you have interest or city or state, we're reaching out to people that are from that same area we might know just to get any insider information or following you on Instagram or whatever it is. There's a lot of work that goes in for the females on the back end too.
Yeah, I've never put in that much work.
Well, the females do, but that's just the overthinking and doing more research, I think.
Have you heard of the website, Are We Dating the Same Person?
Yes, on Facebook.
Oh, Facebook, okay.
It's very popular. I thought about joining one time, but I got so scared. I was like, what if I find people I know or friends, or I can't look at someone the same? And then I'm like, I'll just get sucked in. I can't. This is like a reality TV show. But a lot of people find out that they're dating the same person, or, hey, like I just had a date with him, or no, this has been my boyfriend for a long time. And I'm like, ooh.
That's wild. That that wouldn't have happened in the pre-internet era. I mean, I guess you would find out, but it's so much easier to connect the dots with the internet.
Oh yeah, you can't. It's a lot of things you can get caught doing with the internet now that you couldn't have back when we were growing up.
Yeah. Okay, our next question is, do women like smart guys?
Ooh.
So I've got a number of studies here basically saying no. Women consistently say in surveys that intelligence is something they value highly in a man when looking for a partner, but what they say is different than how they behave in real life.
Okay.
So there's one speed dating experiment where women rated a man's personality as the most important before the experiment and looks as the least important, but the experiment showed that looks was their highest priority and personality was the least valuable to them.
I believe it. You don't want to seem shallow and be like, no, it looks, it's lower on the totem pole, but that's not always the truth. And I think if you're a smart female, you want to date a smarter male, or not smarter than you, but a smart male. And maybe that's the same with men, but maybe not. Maybe men just care more about the looks. But I see it. I
feel like the stereotype is that men care more about the looks,
yes.
But I feel like women say they don't care that much about the looks, but they really do.
No, and I think we talked about this, that men, women are attracted to what they hear, and so that's why men lie. And men are attracted to what women look like, and so that's why women change their look or wear makeup and like put on a face. Because women want to be pursued, and men can talk them up, or like you could talk your way into something as a man. And for women, it's like, okay, you could trick your way in by looks to a guy, which is sad that we both do that, like male and females, but it's a real thing. I feel like we're gonna get so much hate and backlash for talking about this.
So more studies, signs associated with intelligence, such as wearing glasses, are generally rated as less attractive by both men and women. So you say like, oh, I like a smart person, but then these signifiers are like symbolic representations of intelligence, like glasses. It's like, not so much.
But do you think because if someone's wearing glasses, you're thinking long term, or they have eye issues, or they're not, their genes aren't as strong, or
like a subconscious? Ooh, that's an interesting point. I haven't thought about that. Yeah. Let's see. Some studies even show that intelligence is inversely correlated with mating success, while physical attractiveness is consistently at or near the top. So there's a study in the year 2000, and researchers found an inverse correlation between intelligence and the amount of sex teenagers were having. The most sexually active group had IQs between 75 and 90, so well below average. And those with the highest IQs were up to 5 times less sexually active as those with the lowest IQs. Boys that were intellectually disabled with IQs around 60 were still more likely to be having sex than boys with IQs of 130, which is 2 standard deviations well above the average. But this is interesting. For girls, there's no connection between IQ and sexual activity.
Like for the girl feeling that, or?
No, for like a girls, teenage girls, their level of IQ is not related to whether they're having sex at all.
Oh.
For boys, less intelligent boys are more likely to be having sex.
Yeah, because they're not thinking with their brain, you know? But I don't know. I think the guys that are more intelligent, maybe they're also people who aren't as extroverted or not the best with their words. And again, for females, it's what we hear and what we're told and what we believe, not so much as actions at the time, especially when you're younger. And so like if a man, or I say man, a boy is coming up and it's like, hey hottie, and just talking you up and saying how good you look, or like, oh, I wanna make you mine and stuff, you know, they're making that move and they're trying. And with the more intellect guys, maybe they're not focusing on a female, they're focusing on other things. And so yeah, if you're not focusing on a female, you're not going to be having sex with one.
I wonder, there's a couple things I'm wondering if there's a connection between intelligence and anxiety, because I'm thinking if you're a super smart guy and you're thinking about going to shoot your shot, and you're like, so many things could go wrong. And you're just, you know, it's going through your head, all the problems, and you're psyching yourself out, and you never actually go do it. But relatively less intelligent guys, like, who cares? I'm going to shoot my shot. And they just go for it, you know? And women tend to respect confidence a lot in guys.
Agreed. Yeah, that's a good point.
The other thing I'm thinking is super intelligent guys are going to get stereotyped as nerd, which is not cool, and so they're less likely to be in the popular crowd. And you know, the math club is not known amongst your people for killing it with the ladies. Neither is the chess club.
Were you part of the math club?
I was
I was a part of the chess club, which is so
funny. You really? The guys on my basketball team gave me so much grief because one year I skipped basketball camp to go to debate camp.
Oh.
Yeah. That's how
I
the
did
women
chess.
that's how the women in my high school responded too. Oh.
Oh.
Ooh,
I only did chess club as a joke. Like me and my friends had an inside joke about chess, and we had to choose an extracurricular activity in like middle school for some reason. And I was like, oh, everyone's gonna choose chess because that's like our joke. And of course, no one chose it. Everyone did. All my friends did sports, and that's what I would have picked. And I'm just there, the only female in chess club, and I'm just like, it was so awkward, but it was fun. So maybe that's how math club was for you. Any females
Yeah.
in them?
Yes. Yes. Okay, we went over that question. Okay, here's an interesting one. Are car seats a form of birth control?
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay, here's my argument that I'm laying out.
Okay.
J.D. Vance, who's our next vice president, was mocked by the media because he said that car seats decrease the number of babies people have. But he's actually right. And it's hard to tell if this connection is correlational or causational, but there's a pretty strong argument to make that it's actually having a causal effect. So it's partly due to the hassle of strapping a kid into their car seat every time you go for a trip, which is like maybe a minute each time, but it's this continual annoyance that kind of builds over time. And you think, this is what having a kid is like. This is going to be double if I have one more kid, you know? Mm-hmm. So there's that extra time added onto every trip. But there's also the fact that if you have more than 2 kids, you're going to need a bigger car with at least 3 rows, right? So that could be a financial burden, and some families might say, we can't afford another kid because we can't afford another car. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So there's some connection there between the car seats and having fewer kids.
I think for sure about the financial burden. That's why I know a lot of people don't want to have another kid, it's the financial burden. You go through phases, and I used to be a professional nanny, and I would see it. It's like parents are like, no, we're never having another kid. And then their kid goes through an amazing phase, and they're like, we want another one. Like, this is so great. What if we have another one that turns out just like him or her? And the car seat thing is funny because it does take a lot more time than 1 minute with the seatbelt and going through. So I know how that can be aggravating. But if you're not moving the car seat, and most people just buy a couple, so they have one in each car. But I think it's more the financial burden over anything.
Yeah, makes
But
sense.
For me, it's the opposite. I'm like, I love kids so much and I want them so bad. So if I see a car seat, I'm like, heck yeah. They're weird. I don't know.
Interesting. I thought that's just a bizarre connection that you wouldn't think to make until you kind of unpack it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Okay.
Now, question about that. So when men see women with car seats and things like that, they're like, oh, it's a lot of people I've heard or men say that's a red flag. Like, I don't want to date someone with kids already, or it's a lot harder for single moms to find someone. But if you're a single dad, I feel like it's not nearly as difficult. Like, women are more drawn to that in a way, or see you as a great parent or someone who's able to provide and take care of their child. So it's like, okay, that's a green flag, and for most people, it's like, okay, that's not an issue. But at reverse, it's a big issue.
Yeah, I mean, at one point I tried to get over that stigma of dating a woman with kids, and I went out with a woman that I really liked, and she had 4 kids, and I thought our date went really well. The problem was we could never find a time to schedule a second date. And we're like, oh, Tuesday is Timmy's soccer practice, and Wednesday is Susie's violin. Like, there was always something. There was never a chance. And I thought, I won't have a chance to get to know this person. You know, it's not, even if I got over the fact that she has kids, the reality of those kids scheduling was making it not possible.
Mm-hmm. It's hard enough to schedule just as an individual, but
True.
With adding independence or dependence as well onto it, that's even more difficult. But why do you think it's men versus women as single parents. Like, why is it more attractive for men and vice versa? Like, not as attractive for men.
I think there's a lot of psychology around men not wanting to raise another man's kid, like to
Oh,
devote their like hard-won resources to another
okay.
man's kid.
That's a good
Um,
point.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, our next question: do looks determine a person's psychology? Um, there's kind of a lot of people, especially on like the red pill manosphere area of the internet, who say basically looks are everything. It determines everything about how your life goes, pretty much.
Okay.
So I want to introduce one thing from social psychology called the halo effect, where good-looking people get more opportunities and the benefit of the doubt. They're more likely to be hired for jobs and even more likely to get not guilty verdicts in court. So what do you think of that?
I believe that 100%. I really do. I think if someone, that's why I was always told when I was younger, or just in general, when you're traveling, you need to look pristine and you need to look your best. You're going to get treated a lot better. Your seat won't get bumped. There's just a lot of perks to being attractive, or someone treating you better because you're attractive or the way you look.
So I mostly agree with this one, especially if I'm thinking of like a female, someone of the opposite sex. But it's different if it's another male. I look at that differently. And there's almost an antagonism if I encounter a really good-looking male. Like there's a intersexual competition there, you know. Um, and I remember I worked at this place, and there was this one woman who worked there who was very attractive, and all the men had a crush on her. And we didn't know her relationship status. So we all had this kind of fantasy relationship with her in our heads, right? And at the company Christmas party, she brought a date, and we found out it was her boyfriend, and they were very serious. And, you know, we were all the guys were thinking the same thing at the same time. And this guy, my coworker, came down and sat next to me. He goes, I can't believe this jerk. You know, he's just like, can you believe that stupid shoes he's wearing? Like, he's just like trashing him. And it was kind of just this common mentality of like this really good looking guy that we all just hated, you know? So I would say if it's somebody who you think could possibly be competition, good looks could actually hurt in that sense.
I agree. I agree. If it's the same sex and it, like if I see someone who's like beautiful and I'm like, say we'll use the airport example, like I'm gonna, and they make eye contact with me, I'm gonna smile at them or acknowledge them, and but if I see them looking, say we're together, and I see them only paying attention to you or only smiling at you, like immediately I'm gonna be like, what the heck, and start in my head like degrading her, and it's just like a natural thing, which is so bad, but is that's competition of, well, I could be better than her, or you know, or in your situation with the female coworker, it's like, well, if I actually tried, I probably could have got her. You know, a lot of guys will
Yeah.
think that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's interesting because you look at the connection between self-esteem, depression, anxiety, all these things. They're completely unrelated to a person's level of attractiveness. There's a study of 11 and 12-year-olds, and attractiveness was completely unrelated to self-esteem. But there is a connection in that study between self-esteem and perceived level of attractiveness. So if you have your level of attractiveness that comes from other people judging you, that is unrelated to self-esteem. But how attractive you think you are is connected to self-esteem, which is interesting because
Yeah.
yeah.
If you, I've always been told if you look good, you feel good, or you dress well, you look good, you feel good, you get good results. And so it's just a process. So if you don't feel good about yourself, you're not going to exude that confidence, and you're going to not feel good about yourself, and it's going to affect your performance no matter what it looks like.
Females who get cosmetic surgery are more likely to face depression and anxiety than those who don't.
I need a source. Give me a source for that.
I'll link in the description.
Okay. What's the source here? Where are you getting
I'm
this?
just reminded
Wikipedia?
of mom talk. We need to get back to what mom talk used to be.
You know what? I don't know if Mom Talk can make it through this. I don't.
Mom talk won't survive.
Won't survive.
Um,
Oh, but I did want to say, Ryan, that part of like the looks and feeling good and being treated differently based on how you look. When I had blonde hair and like longer hair, I was treated so differently than I do now. Like I never had to pay for anything. I never had to open a door. I was just treated with so much respect and like, oh, you can cut in line. And it was crazy. And as soon as I dyed my hair darker, I was like, okay, not nearly as many people are being so nice to me or cutting or giving me as many discounts. And then when I cut my hair short, because it was just unhealthy and needed to be cut, it's like I didn't exist anymore. I would go around the same people, same crowd, and it's just like it's crazy like what the looks can do.
so being a blonde with long hair is like living life on easy mode.
Easy, very easy mode. Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean
That
that
is
kind of
true. I feel like a lot of men prefer blonde females or long hair. Like we have talked about this before, long hair
we're
versus
gonna get
short.
to the long hair thing in a second.
Ow! Okay.
Okay. Sociability, extroversion, general mental health, the degree a person believes they can control their own life, and freedom from general anxiety, all those had no connection to a person's level of attractiveness. Attractiveness does have an effect on how the world treats you, but it has almost no effect on your personal individual psychology.
Okay.
No connection between attractiveness and happiness or life satisfaction. In a study of 231 college students, showed that there was no connection between level of attractiveness and social status or personality traits. The social status one did surprise me. I can see how attractiveness would not affect personality traits, but I would imagine attractiveness would have an effect on social status. Wouldn't you think?
I would think so, but I've seen this is going to sound so awful, and I want to be politically correct saying it. I don't know if I can. Just don't cancel me. But pretty much, I've seen some really ugly, popular girls who are just take over schools or even workplaces and things like that. It's because they have confidence or,
Charisma.
yeah, but sometimes they're just mean. So I'm like, I don't know. But maybe some is charisma, and I think a personality takes it a long way. Like a good personality can make or break popularity.
I would imagine it'd be easier for an ugly man to climb the social ladder than an ugly woman, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I think if you're, say, an ugly man, whatever that may look like, if you have a good humor, you can make it anywhere. You can take it pretty far.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, our next very controversial topic, what is a situationship? So
Ooh,
I'm going to give you a couple facts about a situationship. A situationship is an undefined romantic or sexual relationship that doesn't involve any type of commitment. A situationship can work only if both parties are on the same page and actually want the situationship. It can involve freedom, flexibility, and lack of responsibility and pressure, but it also includes uncertainty, wasted time, and a lack of consistency, loyalty, and deeper connection. So this is different from a booty call, which is a one-time or occasional let's have sex thing rather than a relationship. It's also different from a friends with benefits arrangement
okay.
because at least if you have a friends with benefits thing, that's you've defined the relationship.
But isn't a situationship defining it?
I think the ambiguity is part of the situationship.
Okay. It's like we're not
Okay,
friends with
here.
benefits, but we're not also anything. So
This
it's just
definition comes from Psychology Today. In a situationship, one or both parties don't quite know what is going on between them and what to expect. So this is
okay.
one of the words that we've seen pop up very commonly, very frequently used in the last few years. What do you think of the situationship phenomenon?
I think it's a lot of people who have commitment issues or they're scared to voice what they want or how they feel. And so they don't want to step on the other person's toes or push it in the wrong direction. So they rather have something, even if it's a situationship, than nothing and be alone.
It feels like a lot of times one person will be ready to commit. They're like, this is, and that person's perspective is, this is the best I can do. Like, I want to lock this person down. And the other person is like, I'm kind of being entertained. I'm killing my time right here, but I think I can do better. So I can, have this stability and entertainment basically, but I'm kind of looking for what I'd really rather have, I think that's kind of the dynamic.
One is definitely waiting for something better to come along. The other one's like, I don't want to define the relationship and scare them away because I think that this is the best I can get.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so maybe it's a lack of confidence on the part of one person. Basically, I'll take whatever scraps I can get.
Until I hit that wall where I need more.
Yeah, you have the, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Is it?
It is.
Yeah.
Intrasexual competition and the hair salon. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So this is a study from Dr. Danielle Sulikowski.
Okay.
And it's a fascinating study. So women who use competitor manipulation as a form of intersexual competition. This is primarily highly competitive women. And what happened is, in this experiment, and this is a fairly robust, pretty big experiment, you have women hairstylists, and women come in and they describe what they want. And women will say they want more or less hair cut off. And if it was a more attractive woman, then the hairstylist would recommend cutting off more hair, even if the woman said she didn't want more hair cut off. And they recommended cutting off the most hair to women who were similar in level of attractiveness to the hairdresser. So I think it's interesting because if it's like someone much more attractive than you, they might not be competition because they're kind of they're dating out of your league, basically. But somebody about your level, you might have to knock them down a peg. And I think, we've talked about this. Men almost universally prefer longer hair. And so if a hair salon...
Longer hair on women.
Yes, longer hair on women, yeah. And so this is one of those, we talk about men use anger, violence, those kind of things, raising your voice, cursing. And women use more subtle forms of kind of relational aggression. This is one of them. So what do you think of that?
Yeah, it just goes back to the manipulation or tactical thinking. And it could be subconsciously. Men normally just either don't have a filter or they just are going to say it, get off their chest, which is why a lot of men act in anger or just kind of spew or throw a punch or something. But women are more tactical and think deeper about it. Yes. It's like, okay, we see the long game. Which is crazy that there is a long game and it could not even be a game, but you're making it up in your head. Like, okay, well, this person, if there's less attractive people or if she botches her hair or cuts it shorter and doesn't grow back as fast, that just makes my chances of looking better around her higher. So people are going to see me as more attractive. And I've seen that. I haven't seen it from hairstylists.
What are some other ways you've seen that type of behavior in women?
Not with the hairstylist part, but I have seen it with men. Not men, with women. I guess an example would be style or, hey, how does this dress look on me? And you're going out together, or they're like, hey, can I borrow an outfit? And you're like, yeah, no problem. And you lend them an outfit and they're trying it on and you're like, yeah, that looks really good, like looks great on you, and you're talking them up. No, you don't look big in that, I swear. But like they look big in that and you're gonna stand next to them in the photo so you look better. Like, it's so sad, but like sometimes that happens a lot. Or someone's makeup, a female's makeup, they're doing their makeup and it looks so bad or drastic, or you can just tell that they're wearing a ton or it's not blended well. And you don't say anything, or they have lipstick on their teeth, and you're just like, oh, you don't say anything, or you kind of encourage it. So that's why you just got to surround yourself with good friends, people that you can trust, hairstylists that you can trust.
Yeah.
But there is that subconscious of sabotaging someone else.
So, what ways, in terms of intrasexual competition, what ways do you think men do this?
I've noticed of just like degrading with their words. Like if some guy walks by and they're more attractive or whatever the case may be, and they're around their girl or around a female that they're trying to impress, it's just like they'll make humor out of it. Some people do, or just downgrade that person and be like, oh, what a tool, or bag on something they're wearing.
One thing that I notice is uh, moves that would be very good for your dating life, men
Okay.
will discourage other men from doing it. So the most obvious one to me is like going to the gym. Going to the gym is a night and day difference in your dating life if you work out. And guys will be like, ah, come on, bro. You don't want to be some dumb meathead or something. It's like, kind of talk down about that when that could be one of the biggest things that could improve your chances in the dating market.
That's true. Or you don't
Um,
need to take those supplements, or you don't need to
Eat
or
healthy
cut.
kind of
Like,
thing.
you don't need to do abs. No one's going to see it. They don't make a difference anyway, or whatever
Yeah.
it may be.
Another one is like career. Career is one of the biggest things that allows men to be more competitive in the dating market. More successful in your job, making more money, those kind of things. And kind of one of the way what men will say is, you don't want to be some corporate sellout, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I don't want you to be more successful than me, then I'm not going to look very good. So that's how men will cut each other down to make sure they have a more even playing field in the dating market.
That's a good one. I guess that's more long term.
Oh
Normally we talk about
yeah,
the women doing long
we're
term, but
playing the
that's more
long
long
playing
term.
the long game. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And I feel like we're just been bashing on our own sexes, but I think women uplift each other a lot and they come around and morale, and there's a lot of good for having a female community or a godly female community that I've noticed. And I think with men, you do need those men around you. You do need other men to sharpen your iron and you to pick you up and help you out.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen the meme. The gist of it is women will be so nice to you to your face and talk trash about you behind your back, and
Hmm.
men talk trash to each other's faces, but we're nice to each other behind our backs. Um, I don't know how much truth there is, but there's some truth to that.
I mean, back in like when I was younger, I'm sure, or immaturity wise, yes, or gossipy wise, yes, definitely, or a lot of reality TV, like Mom Talk, a lot of stuff like that. They do. They talk behind backs, um, and men, I think they do talk more to your face about it. Or if you have something to say, you'll say it. So I don't know. It just depends on the people you hang out with. Like the girls I hang out with, if I have something to say to them, or I'm not going to talk behind their back if I wouldn't say it to them to their face, and that's just something I've grown into. So I don't know if other women are like that or not anymore. But
Yep. Good stuff. Good stuff. So that's all the stuff I have. Do you have anything else to close us out?
um, no, not really.
All right. Well, I think it's been a good almost an hour.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm
Well,
good.
that's our show for today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
for sure. Take care.
Oh, bye.
Bye.